Ultra Magnus is the Autobot character with the least amount of screen time after a certain someone. Season 3, the final season, introduces Ultra Magnus as an Autobot commander who is basically the Autobot's second in command. Where Optimus is like the soft, caring father of the team, Ultra Magnus is a classic strict military figure. He enforces standing at attention and using formal dress. As someone so serious, he doesn't tend to be many people's favorite character, especially for young viewers who see themselves more in the rambunctious and energetic characters of the show. Ultra Magnus is the ultimate image of maturity who can be too dry in people's tastes. Despite that, there's actually nothing wrong with Ultra Magnus, and here's why he is cool and deserving of respect as a character. Near the end of Season 3, Episode 2, all seems hopeless for the Autobots. Their base was found and destroyed by the Decepticons, and now the Autobots are scattered across the US with their human allies. RC and Jack just escaped from a gas station fight with Viacons, and Jack sighs that last time things looked this bleak, Optimus gave him a magical relic to hang their hopes on. That's when Ultra Magnus swoops onto scene in his spaceship to be their hope, like he heard them and dropped in to be their broad-shouldered savior. As he is introduced, the show is dramatic to make you fear that this is a new Decepticon threat. The powerful ship lands and ominous smoke pours out. We get a shot up his legs, stopping at his abs. A large silhouette marches through the smoke toward RC, but she quickly recognizes those high shoulders. She says they don't need the magical key, just Ultra Magnus. So Ultra Magnus is set up to bring the audience hope. The scene ends there and continues in Episode 3. RC asks Ultra Magnus how he found them on Earth, and before answering, Ultra Magnus tells her this.
Soldier, we may not be on Cybertron, but military protocol remains.
My apologies, sir.
Sir?
Jack's statement of "Sir" is to make the audience believe Ultra Magnus is excessive. To turn the Autobots a bit more against Ultra Magnus, he doesn't address the human like a person. He tells RC to tell Jack to watch its tone. Ultra Magnus may not have a proper grasp on human gender yet, but it is often used in a demeaning tone to compare to animals. RC quickly whispers to Jack who Ultra Magnus is.
Ultra Magnus was Optimus's key lieutenant during the war back on Cybertron. Very by the book. Just go with it.
Finally, Ultra Magnus explains he had been wandering through space looking for others. He detected the big energy beam at the end of Season 2 and came to Earth. Now he is flying after Autobot life signals to pick them up. Jack asks a question and gets a glare, but when Jack adds, "Sir," now Ultra Magnus is willing to make eye contact and answer him. So I don't believe Ultra Magnus intended to be discriminatory, he was just refusing to address anyone who he believed was being rude to him. This dude is right in front of them all, so Jack's scoffing comments, Ultra Magnus was hearing that. Like, if you don't respect him, he won't give you his time. Next, Ultra Magnus flies with Jack and RC to get Bulkhead, Wheeljack, and Miko. This is just as Predaking is attacking, so Ultra Magnus shoots the beast and scoops up the Autobots. Ultra Magnus is calmly piloting as the Autobots happily reunite. Then we see the first sign of difference in opinions on him.
You? Ultra Magnus? It's an honor.
It's an honor, sir.
There is a history behind this that becomes a little clearer later, but it's explained more in the Transformers Prime books. When the majority of Autobots abandoned Cybertron in the Ark, the Autobots who stayed behind were the Wreckers. Ultra Magnus stayed behind on Cybertron as the leader of the Wreckers. Therefore, Ultra Magnus was the Autobot leader on Cybertron without Optimus Prime. Wheeljack and Bulkhead were Wreckers, but Bulkhead chose to go into space with Optimus. Wheeljack is upset at that, and also that he was under the command of such a strict leader. Wheeljack is a wild child who just wants to run loose and bomb things after all. So this tension, we're going to see more of it in Season 3. The show is just more empathetic to Wheeljack's side perhaps. Kids shows like to promote individualism and self-confidence, that you should be creative and break free from the rules. Let's take a look at Ultra Magnus' side of things while continuing on. It seems rude that Ultra Magnus doesn't receive the compliment Bulkhead gave and just focuses on correcting his language. Everyone looks back with hard looks. Ultra Magnus seems cold instead of welcoming. We're going to see that, though strict, Ultra Magnus is not uncaring. Believe it or not, this formality is his way of protecting people, not because his ego enjoys being called Sir. This isn't Starscream, he's not gloating to be high in power. He's not smug and takes no joy in being addressed formally. Very basic level satisfaction. When someone says it's an honor to meet him, he doesn't act like they should be honored. Starscream would have a huge grin, even Megatron might have smirked. But Ultra Magnus is trying to pilot and do his job. He's going to do it without needing compliments. If you look at Ultra Magnus's face, you can see he was animated with emotions. Yeah, this is like when I made the videos of the emotions of Optimus and Shockwave. Ultra Magnus certainly gets surprised and afraid, but he makes himself determined and concentrates. There's a dragon on the windshield, and well, everyone is like, whoa. Ultra Magnus gets gritty. He performs beautifully under pressure, coordinating every movement perfectly, even when he's upside down. Being someone like that, it's no wonder he's the commander. After the fight, they meet up with Ratchet and Bumblebee. Ultra Magnus seems to have automatic respect for Ratchet, addressing him as Doctor. I think that's a nice touch. Notice that Ratchet never has to say Sir. Ratchet just talks to Ultra Magnus, no standing at attention. Ratchet is also a more serious character, though he has a soft side. So while the other Autobots are talking about paint jobs, Ratchet is privately updating Ultra Magnus of the current situation. When Miko interrupts, both Ratchet and Ultra Magnus gawk at her. I mean, just look at Ratchet's face. Ratchet and Ultra Magnus just have a moment of, yeah, these kids are pretty unruly. Ultra Magnus almost attacks Fowler, mistaking his jet for a Decepticon seeker. Can't blame him when Decepticons are known for flying. Ultra Magnus is willing to listen to Fowler's idea, respecting a good idea whether it comes from a bot's or a human's mouth. As Ultra Magnus calmly starts to take command, Wheeljack questions why they're letting Ultra Magnus take charge. Ratchet defends him.
Ultra Magnus is the only logical choice. He was trained by Optimus and served as his commanding officer throughout the war for Cybertron.
Now, unless there is any further objection, soldier, please follow me.
Ultra Magnus lets the Autobots pick weapons from his ship, which pacifies Wheeljack for now, but their problems will return in a few episodes. Episode 4 starts with the Autobots planning their attack on the Decepticon Tower, and Ultra Magnus is less stiff, allowing anyone to throw out their ideas even without formal dress. Ultra Magnus only refuses to do Wrecker style, as Wheeljack suggests, because he wants a structured plan, not freestyling. The Autobots start their attack. Ultra Magnus, who doesn't even fear Predacons, just takes Predaking on again, hardly batting an eye. Ultra Magnus is brave and not the leader who stands back. He flies into the heart of the tower to take down controls of a giant gun. Megatron appears and Ultra Magnus is ready to fight him himself.
Indeed, Megatron. And you are standing in my way.
Ultra Magnus has some sick moves, but Megatron does defeat him. He mocks Ultra Magnus for not being Optimus, and this moment is meant to crush the audience's hopes. We were led to put all hope in Ultra Magnus, then we lose it because the show wants to set up Optimus as the real hope. When Optimus comes back, that's when they want us to feel victorious. So poor Ultra Magnus gets dragged around until ultra beefy Optimus comes in. Ultra Magnus's design was based on Optimus before, and they both turn into trailer trucks, so I see why they have to change Optimus. Can't have the embarrassment of wearing the same shirt. Ultra Magnus gets to look badass again by rising and clocking Starscream. Good to know that the second-in-command of the Autobots at least gets to knock down the second-in-command of the Decepticons. When Optimus and Ultra Magnus see each other, Optimus calls him Commander, and Ultra Magnus calls him Sir. So Ultra Magnus is no hypocrite, he is consistent about the chain of command. Ultra Magnus is very clear and helpful by always informing everyone of all news immediately, and he raises the spirits of his comrades. As more proof of Ultra Magnus' humility, after the battle, he tells Optimus,
Sir, I am honored to relinquish command of the Autobots to you.
Welcome to Earth, Ultra Magnus. And to Team Prime.
Everyone stop and look closely at what happens after Ultra Magnus has been welcomed. Look at what they animated. Ultra Magnus puts his hand warmly on Bulkhead, and Bulkhead gives him a nod. So the Autobots' situation is stabilized and they have a new base. Ultra Magnus is not ready to rest. Ultra Magnus goes out himself to collect Energon. Time for the tension between Wheeljack and Ultra Magnus to grow. Wheeljack chucks a ball at Bulkhead, but it bounces off him and nearly kills Miko. Ultra Magnus goes to lecture Wheeljack, but Ultra Magnus is portrayed as just a fun killer. Ultra Magnus jabs at Wrecker behavior, being out of control. He pulls rank on Wheeljack, reminding him that he is the commander. Wheeljack hates to be controlled. Ultra Magnus believes he needs discipline, and if Wheeljack can't accept it, he should leave like he did before. The room stares on in awkward shock, and I feel like the show is trying to sway us to think Ultra Magnus is excessive. After all, Wreckers have been shown up to Season 3 as a cool squad that kids like Miko would love to be a part of. It's been shown as freedom and fun. But let's just focus for a moment. Wheeljack almost killed Miko, and he is lucky that he didn't. He doesn't even address that. He isn't even concerned what he almost did because Miko survived it. Wheeljack is terrible at seeing the consequences of his own actions. He is endangering people. Ultra Magnus is right, he did something wrong and he needs discipline. Wheeljack doing what he wants could kill children or teammates. Remember back in Season 2, Wheeljack and Bulkhead rushed off, and Wheeljack just got Bulkhead captured by Dreadwing. He endangered his teammates. He lost his teammate and found him next to a bomb strapped to him. Sometimes charging in wildly works, but there's just so much that can go wrong. It's just intelligent to think things through and make plans. I don't know why kids' action shows keep promoting that rules and plans restrain you. They act like people will struggle if things don't go according to plan. That's why we should run with our personal strengths. Now the thing is, that's not how the real world works, because that's how people die. I'm fresh from firefighting college and I can tell you that without the chain of command and plans, firefighters and civilians will die. We have rule books of how to do different situations. We had to memorize the steps perfectly for our exams. These are because very experienced people figured out the most intelligent and safe ways to do things, and so we're taught that. Just because we're big on procedures and plans doesn't mean we flounder when something unexpected happens. Command switches plans, they might come up with new ideas. That's not for a young firefighter to decide. Freelancing kills. We must have a strong, experienced voice to tell the team what to do, and the entire team moves in a coordinated effort. We aren't helpless if the commander is down because we have people below on the chain of command to support us. I can't talk about military experience, but I think it's probably similar in many aspects. Without him taking command in episode 4, the Autobots would not have even made it as far as they did. Wheeljack has to respect that Ultra Magnus has the experience and can lead them best, he just doesn't want to because it's less fun. At the start of episode 6 Chain of Command, Ultra Magnus fusses that Wheeljack ran off without being ordered to. If you think that seems controlling, Ultra Magnus is actually thinking about Wheeljack's safety.
I didn't authorize him to advance without proper cover.
Yeah, I'm sure Jackie's just trying to prove himself now that you and he are serving together again, sir.
It's just smart, but the kids watching the show are going to be distracted by the fun Wheeljack is having, running and yelling yeehaw. Ultra Magnus shows his adaptability when his stealth plan is ruined and he has to come in and wreck with them. Then he is unhappy to learn that Wheeljack brought a human with him into battle. Wheeljack and Bulkhead have to defend Miko as capable. Of course, Ultra Magnus not seeing Miko as capable makes him seem like a jerk, but to be fair, they have hard metal and Miko is a tiny squishy thing. Like convincing people that a fully sentient mouse can be a valuable member of the team. Ultra Magnus knows she doesn't have weapons and can get squished. They appease Ultra Magnus, so they move on with Miko. He actually finds a use for Miko and gives her a mission to climb out and call for help. So he learns to see the use in any teammate and highlight their skills. So Ultra Magnus is like the Dragon Man. Okay, I know what you're thinking, he just loses to the Predacons. Twice Ultra Magnus gets gravely injured, losing a hand to Predaking and then getting burnt and battered by Skylynx. But Nana, hear me out. See, Ultra Magnus already beat Predaking twice with his ship. Now he faces Predaking one-on-one and bam in the face, epic knee slide, and bam throws him across the room with a swing of his hammer. It's when Bulkhead and Wheeljack act on their own in this fight that gives Predaking the advantage. For some reason, Bulkhead thinks he can stop Predaking by holding his tail. Ultra Magnus was probably fine to dodge that. Then Wheeljack throws a grenade in the cave, and even he makes the face of, "Oh, I messed up," as his grenade explodes beside Ultra Magnus and Bulkhead. The fight isn't even won by Predaking. All the rocks fall down on them. Predaking crawls out first and leaves. Ultra Magnus comes out and lectures Wheeljack, saying he is one step away from getting them killed sometime. And he isn't wrong, is he? But Wheeljack continues to compare Ultra Magnus to Rust infecting the Brotherhood of the Wreckers. Episode 7, Wheeljack returns alone and doesn't want to go on a mission of RC. He thinks it's fine working alone, but Ratchet pushes him to support his teammate. Talking to RC about his feelings calms down Wheeljack. He doesn't like Ultra Magnus, but he's mostly frustrated about his current friendship with Bulkhead. Wheeljack sorts it out just in time because Episode 9, Ultra Magnus and Wheeljack have to fight Predaking together. Before that, Ultra Magnus is a bit pushy around the base. He's not used to resting, he wants to keep pushing for their survival. He pushes the rest of the team to do more patrols, but they say they are busy logging their reports. Bulkhead gives him quite a lot of politeness, so Ultra Magnus is satisfied. Wheeljack walks in all gooey, and Ultra Magnus tries to give him trouble for leaving the base without permission. But when Wheeljack says he just worked on Ultra Magnus' ship to make it better, Ultra Magnus does his funny big eyebrow raise. He realizes, okay, maybe Wheeljack isn't just a troublemaker. Optimus returns, and the rest of the team happily greet him. Ultra Magnus is not used to the family dynamic, so he stands alone and Optimus notices. Optimus talks to him in private, and Ultra Magnus reveals his concern that his command style is hurting the team.
Something has been troubling you. I fear that my command style may be having a negative effect on unit morale.
Your service is most welcome, old friend. But this is not the elite guard.
Things have changed since the war for Cybertron.
And we must adapt to that change. The members of Team Prime are not cogs in a machine. They have grown into something greater than an army.
He's self-aware, and I believe it is a very positive trait that Ultra Magnus realizes that he might need the change, not everyone else. Ultra Magnus seeks to adapt. If you just look at his eyes, you can see that he really does care about the team's well-being. Ultra Magnus and Wheeljack work together to destroy the Predacon clones. Wheeljack has learned to ask for permission, and Ultra Magnus agrees that now is a great time to use a grenade. I also want to point out that as the Predacons are being woken up, Ultra Magnus doesn't say they have to kill the Predacons to protect themselves. No, he is concerned about protecting the native life forms, humanity, from them.
Permission to employ a grenade in a confined space, sir?
If you and I are all that stand between these monsters and the natives of this planet, then by all means, blow these beasts back to the Rust Age.
He's always trying to look beyond himself at the greater picture. Predaking attacks the Autobots in bot form for the first time. The key thing to note is that Predaking might be stronger in this form. Why? Because his armor is most dense and compact. The Autobots realize that their normal attacks just aren't phasing him, especially in Predaking's rage. But even Wheeljack is doing well, inflicting some damage. And Ultra Magnus is a powerful bot who can literally toss Predaking with his hammer. Wheeljack and Ultra Magnus stay down longer because Predaking hits really hard, but they get back up and they have a great team effort. Look at how they both have grown. This is a cute little coordinated move they didn't even have to announce. The thing is, their enemy is very strong and has tough armor. The Autobots aren't helpless, they do very well, but they lose in the end. I want to point out something super interesting that I don't think is even intentional, but every single time Ultra Magnus loses to a Predacon and gets injured, it's when he looks to where his partner is and concerned for their well-being. Wheeljack suddenly gets slammed by a rock. Ultra Magnus stares at him, then loses track of Predaking. He is a moment too late to grab his weapon. That's when Ultra Magnus loses. Let's briefly jump ahead to the movie so I can point this out. Ultra Magnus turns from his fight with Skylynx when he thinks Smokescreen is in trouble. He wants to help Smokescreen. Skylynx takes advantage of the moment to land a debilitating injury. Now I think Ultra Magnus had a chance of defeating Skylynx, but not Predaking raging in bot form. Yeah, he was going to lose anyway. Predaking beat Megatron, and Megatron beat Ultra Magnus. It was too tough. Predaking even defeats beefy Optimus. All I wish to do is showcase to everyone watching that though subtle, the signs that Ultra Magnus is a caring person are there. He wants to be the strong one to protect everyone else. He cares, but he gets the jobs done, like when he has to pilot the ship to save everyone from Predaking, when he organizes the attack on Dartmount, when he tries to keep Wheeljack from hurting others, or when he wants to keep Wheeljack safe on the battlefield. Being strict and following procedures and rules does not equal a cold bad person. As Ultra Magnus thinks they are about to die, he warmly tells the other Autobot soldier that it had been an honor serving with him.
And here I was just beginning to tolerate you.
It's been an honor serving beside you, soldier.
Optimus saves them, and as Ultra Magnus gets medical treatment in the base, he learns what it means to be part of a family.
Optimus. When we spoke earlier, what could be greater than an army?
A human concept. One I have learned since coming to Earth. Family.
Ultra Magnus gets a rudimentary replacement hand and participates in the final battles of the show. But first, they don't let him join a mission because he can't move his new hand. You can see the distress on his face that he can't go out and help the team. But he listens to orders, he knows orders are to be respected. Wheeljack looks like he feels for Ultra Magnus. Starting to realize that Ultra Magnus means well, it's Wheeljack who stands up for Ultra Magnus to let him come on the next mission. Wheeljack is defensive enough that when Viacon shoots at Ultra Magnus, Wheeljack jumps in to deflect the shot. Despite Ultra Magnus' new injury, he still bravely lunges at Shockwave and beats him. Predaking just happens to drop in and grab what the Decepticons needed. Ultra Magnus leads the Wreckers in the final fight on the Nemesis in the last episode. Because at this point, there are so many Autobot characters, I think they pushed the Wreckers to the side for the finale. The show also wants to give the children the time to shine, so the Wreckers fall for one of Soundwave's portal tricks. It's a little lame. In the movie, Ultra Magnus gets written out again so that Bumblebee can be the star. Ultra Magnus is too capable as a character, so he had to be unable to command for Bumblebee to take over. I just want to highlight that Ultra Magnus was pretty cool. He could get hit by Skylynx but stay on his feet and keep fighting. Skylynx took to the sky to try another attack. Ultra Magnus grabbed his tail and climbed up him, very intimidating. Ultra Magnus still just has one good hand, mind you. Then he punches a dragon so hard, he knocks Skylynx out of the sky. Ultra Magnus is awesome. He just lost trying to look out for young Smokescreen. So with this, I hope people look at Ultra Magnus in a more positive light. He's not dry, he was the mature character trying to keep everyone safe. And when it wasn't working out, he expressed real concern about it. I don't blame him for how he was strict about the chain of command. My instructors in firefighting college were strict too, and when you messed up, you got lectured. It was scary, but it was for our own good. As one strict instructor told me, people won't listen unless you are firm. If you're soft and too nice, you won't be listened to. I agree that a strong, experienced voice should be respected. Discipline saves lives. A leader like Ultra Magnus is not heartless, and a bonus about him is he is very self-aware and adaptable. He warms up and changes, but always remains reliable to the team. Writing this essay, I like him more than ever before, and I hope you do too. So the first time we see Ultra Magnus is this cameo in the start of Season 2. The Decepticons used Ultra Magnus and labeled him as Optimus Prime in their files to mess with Orion. This is Ultra Magnus' Cybertronian design seen in the concept art book. They had this design for a long time, but didn't find a place for Ultra Magnus until Season 3.